right, everyone, good evening, good evening. You want to make your way to a seat. I'm going to do a couple introductions. So if you don't know who I am Sissy Mills. I'm the Jones County Emergency Services Director here in lovely Jones County, North Carolina. I will do a couple introductions. Aaron Kite is to my left. He is our Emergency Management Coordinator and Fire Marshal. Behind him is Sheriff Wyman and some of his crew. He is very, very helpful when it comes to our emergency response during disasters and all of that. But let's introduce some of our speakers tonight. So Mr. Eric Heaton from Newport National Weather Service is here tonight to give a presentation for our hurricane forum. As we all know, and you probably have seen, we are definitely in hurricane season. The Atlantic Basin is likely to heat up. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And he's going to discuss some of that tonight. We also have Ms. Lauren Wargo, who is in the back from Duke Energy. She's going to give some pointers on electrical safety and operations when it comes to hurricane response. Let's see. Miss Christie, where are you at? She moved on me again, didn't she? There she goes. She's with CCDRA, and I'm not going to try to say that because I will murder the abbreviation. However, we as Jones County are partnering with CCDRA and are in the initial process for long-term recovery. Some of you in the room may have experienced hurricane forums with us back in 2018, so we're trying to essentially progress and make that process a whole lot easier and give all of you pointers as we move along. Mr. Chris Meadows, he can raise his hand. He is the DSS Director for Jones County, and then Ms. Adrienne Smith, who is the Health Director. Both of them are here tonight to, one, learn with you, but two, they are going to help with our shelter management when it comes to Jones County shelters. Did I miss anybody? Ms. Mary Ann Ray in the back of the filling station, a wonderful partner with Jones County, so lovingly brought some food tonight and partners with us in many ways, including ham radio operations for redundancy and communication through Jones County. If I missed anyone, I apologize. I am going to turn over to Mr. Eric Heaton. So he's going to start with the first presentation. We'll move through. At the very end, myself and Mr. Kite will be up front for questions and answers. So be thinking of those as you go throughout the process, especially when it comes for Jones County, so we can discuss those and hopefully answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Sissy. And this is just amazing. Just take a look around how many people are in this room. It's a rainy night. You could be doing a lot of other things. This is the 7th year that we've done these hurricane forums, and Jones County and Sissy and others have set this up really nicely. This presentation is really good that we're about to go through. There's a lot of really good information. But all those partners she mentioned have very valuable information specifically for our county here. So please stay and get all that information. If you didn't get a chance, the hurricane guides we are passing out, they're up front and also in our rack. Definitely grab one of those. Very, very good information in there. A couple things I want you to remember. Please continue to trust official sources. Raise your hand if you've heard about some hurricane out, coming this week, next week, out in the Atlantic Ocean. You've seen it on social media. All right, I'm going to talk to all of you about that. Focus on the impacts. Water is what kills people. Never, ever, ever, ever focus on just the category of the storm. And then last but not least, impacts occur well ahead of a storm and away from the center. Misinformation is still our biggest challenge in meteorology. I've heard all the jokes. Must be nice to have a job where you can get it wrong all the time. Must be nice to be paid to get it right half the time. The truth of the matter is we get it right a lot. The problem is, what are you looking at? Are you looking at our forecast, the official forecast, or are you looking at something on social media that has been talking about a hurricane for weeks now that has not happened? So please, 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 instead of paying attention to this, I know you've seen it on social media, pay attention to this. Weather.gov, hurricanes.gov, the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center. If you follow everybody on social media, you will hear about those storms, and you'll hear about the 99 that never happened. We were supposed to get a storm this week. What happened? It's not coming. It never happened. Don't waste your time or energy on that. It's not that we're withholding anything. We will let you know when you need to pay attention. So please focus on official sources of information. Those are the 2 websites. Write them down. Please, pay attention to that. That's what the county will put out. And then also one more I should add, I appreciate the local media being here. Local media or weather.gov, hurricanes.gov. So CTI, NCT, ITN, Greenville, New Bern, and us at the Weather Service. That's who you should be paying attention to, not all the noise on the internet. You might say, well, Mr. Eric, you came out here. Of course I have to say that. Why would I say anything different? Here's the proof. We save everything in the government. This is before Helene. Does everybody remember Helene, Western New York or Western North Carolina? We were okay, not so much in the western part of the state. For those that can't read this, this is a statement before the storm arrived. This is an incredibly dangerous situation. Flooding has the potential to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. Consider temporarily relocating to another location if you live near these rivers. So the information is out there. Sometimes it's hard to believe. We don't believe the worst can happen to us, but please, please, please follow those official sources of information. This is Helene, a major milestone in terms of forecasting. 3 days before Helene was a storm, it was nothing. 3 days before landfall, it wasn't even a storm. And it was predicted by the Hurricane Center. This letter M is a major hurricane hitting the Panhandle of Florida on Thursday. There's the eye of the storm hitting the Panhandle on Thursday afternoon. Do we get a few aspects of the storm wrong sometimes? Of course, we're predicting the future. But please remember, before Helene was even a storm, it was predicted to do what it was supposed to do. So we have an extremely accurate forecast. Please trust us. I still see a few people saying, yeah, but Eric's got to say that. So I don't want to, point out to anybody that's been living in the area for a long time, but we're going to play a little game. So please raise your hand if you were here or know about these storms. So raise your hand if you were in the area in 1985 with Hurricane Gloria. Anybody? So we got some folks. All right. So back in 1985, 3 days out, if Gloria was coming, I would tell Sissy, 3 days out, the center of the storm could be anywhere from Savannah, Georgia, up through Washington, D.C. That's the center of the storm, dot on a map. We know the hurricane's hundreds of miles across, but that's about as good as I could tell Sissy, about 340 miles of error. Who was here in 1999 for Floyd? More hands. So in 1999, if Sissy and I were working, I would tell her anywhere from Charleston to Richmond, the center of the storm, a little bit better. About 211 miles of error, again, 3 days out, just the center of the storm. Our error last year was 67 miles. Let that sink in. I would tell Sissy the landfall would be somewhere between Wilmington and Greenville. Let me say that again, somewhere between Wilmington and Greenville. We have the most accurate forecast, but also the most consistent forecast. A lot of what you see on social media is one model of what the storm might do. And it's here and it's there. Just in the last week, it's New Orleans, it's the Gulf of America, it's the Atlantic Ocean, it's wherever. It changes. Stick with us because we're very, very consistent with our forecasting. How can you plan if we change every 6 hours? So I hope this proved that we've really increased the accuracy through the decades, and this is a forecast you should pay attention to. One thing I do want to point out, this is a forecast cone for Helene. One issue we still kind of bump into is people see this forecast path and think it's an in or out. I'm in the forecast path, I need to worry. Phew, I'm just out of it, I don't need to worry about it. This path only shows where the center of the storm is most likely to go. Impacts occur hundreds of miles outside of that center and outside of that cone. So to kind of get over that, we do overlay the watches and warnings on that. So that's the example with Helene. If you're under a warning, pay attention, not just if you're in the cone or not. And I hope that makes sense. When Florence made landfall in our area, we technically became out of the cone as we got closer, because accurately the center hit Wrightsville Beach. But were we impacted? Of course, it's not a dot on a map. So if you see that path over the next couple weeks, if it's anywhere from Florida to New Jersey, you should pay attention. Does that make sense? Because it can be confusing. Everybody looks at that. This is Floyd. Here we are, hour after wind and rain and wind and rain. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then, oh, by the way, here's the center of the storm. It's important, but everybody focuses on where's landfall, when is landfall. It's important. I'm not saying ignore it, but look how big that storm is. We get rain and wind 12, 24, 30 hours before it gets here. So please know that some of these storms can be long duration. They can be a couple days. It's not just a half-day event sometimes. in our area, and those impacts can really linger over many days if it slows down like we saw with Florence in 2018. I mentioned hurricanes.gov, weather.gov. Just remember that. If you add a /Newport, or if anybody wants to be really fancy, the QR code in the upper right, if you have no idea what that is, that's why you're going to see me afterwards. I can make sure you save this on your phone. This is the local website. I live in Carteret County. I cover 15 counties in eastern North Carolina. I live in your community. Very familiar with 58. I'm driving up and down that road all the time. I am your neighbor, so please focus on the local site. Our little joke with that is if it's the weather you love, it's weather.gov. That's all you need to remember, no matter where you go in the country. And in all honesty, it's $4 per person per year to fund the weather service. So you might say, well, Mr. Eric, I never heard of the weather service before. I've got this phone. I just get my forecasts on that. It's from all of us. Somebody has to pay for the satellite and the radar and the weather models. So if you pay taxes, that's your website. Please utilize it. Social media is a good way to stay informed. I mentioned there is misinformation, but there is also very good information. And you all have a job in this room tonight to do. When you see us share something, share it. So about this event tonight, when you see somebody post about it, share it. When we say, is your hurricane kit ready? Share it. When we think a storm's coming, we'll let you know. If we all share this, then our community will be much better off. And it's just NWS Morehead City. Anywhere on social media you can find us, including YouTube. If a friend, family member, neighbor could not attend tonight, no problem. We're recording this. It'll be on YouTube by tomorrow. We'll share it with the county and we'll make sure it gets out to the community. So anybody that could not attend can certainly see that. On our website, you do have access to these briefings, the same information Sissy's getting, the same information the state, the governor. There's nothing we hide. It is all on our website. There's a briefing. How much rain are we going to have? When is it going to hit? What's the timeline? Look at all of this. There's a tremendous amount of information. Weather.gov, click on Eastern North Carolina, and you are set. You will not be surprised when we get a storm in our area. I did mention the National Hurricane Center. It's a very good resource. Raise your hand if anybody's been paying attention to a graphic like this. It might not look exactly the same. It's called the Tropical Weather Outlook. The Weather Channel, the local news, everybody shows it. This is something you should pay attention to about once a day from this point forward. You don't need to fret over it. You don't need to check it out 4 times a day. But hey, is there something going on out in the ocean I should be paying attention to? Obviously, a lot of us are shaking our head now. Yes, we know about Aaron, but that had a high chance of forming days ago on this graphic. So you would have known about it days ago if you were paying attention to this. So really, really good information on that website. A couple other things I won't go all the way into, but there are other graphics. When is the wind going to get here? What is the potential storm surge? We do have surge issues in the county. I'll explain about that in a second. But a tremendous amount of information that we can't cover all tonight. All I want you to remember is hurricanes.gov, weather.gov. And there's plenty of information for you on those pages. Again, follow the county page. Follow the local media. We're all saying the same thing, showing the same thing, maybe just in a different format. If you were not aware, we are getting toward the peak of hurricane season. This graph we show a lot. The peak is about the September 10th timeframe. So after Labor Day, after the kids go back to school, that's usually when we get some of our worst storms, storms like Florence, and then even later into the year, such as Matthew. So here we are, August 11th. Who's ready for NFL football season? We're about to get started, right? There's got to be more football fans than that, right? All right, get those hands up. September 10th is halftime. September 10th is halftime for hurricane season. We have a long way to go. A lot of people think when we go back to school, kids get Halloween candy, we're out of the woods. Right into November, we can get storms across our area. And we've had a lot of storms. If you've been here, some folks were raising their hands for Gloria in the 80s, Floyd in the 90s. We've had a tremendous amount of storms in eastern North Carolina. A lot of people refer to Matthew and Florence, but Ione in the 50s, Hazel, Donna, a lot of storms have impacted our area, and that's downtown New Bern with the 1913 storm. Back then, they didn't name them like we do now, usually just after years. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. I know Christy's going to talk a lot about preparedness and resiliency as well, so I don't want to steal too much of her thunder. This is a good site. If you're familiar with ours and you just add /hurricane prep, all your resources, what to have in your kit, evacuation routes, sheltering, how to prepare your house, all of that is on there. But what I want to talk to you about is planning. You are here on a rainy Monday, and that's fantastic. You're not stressed. We don't have a storm around the corner. Aaron is way, way out there. You've got time to prepare. If you wait until the storm gets here, we will run out of supplies. I don't have stocks in bread or water, but it's easy. We all know we're going to run out. That just happens. So if you plan now, you're not going to be stressed, and you're going to make good decisions. The other aspect is financial. You might not be able to go out tomorrow and get everything. That's all right. Get your bottled water as a first step. Then a couple days or a couple weeks, you get your canned goods. Slowly break it into parts. That will spread out the financial impact as well. But you need to get it done, because if you're prepared, you'll be in much better shape when the storm comes. And your first step is really, what is your risk? I like to talk about this beyond weather. Yes, if you flooded in Florence or Matthew, you should be especially paying attention. But who's in your home? You have elderly parents, grandkids, you have pets. Can you leave the area easily? Or is it hard for you to leave the area? Those are all very important factors into your planning. And this is something you think about now. If I lose power, I'm inconvenienced. I don't have air conditioning. I'm not on oxygen. I'm not reliant on electricity for my health needs. So that's what you want to think about before you even get to a kit or anything else. Who's in your house? Who are you responsible for? Can you leave the area if you need to? Now that you've done that, step 2 is the hurricane kit. Ground floor, bare minimum is 3 days. Food, water, medicine, anything you would need. That's just bare minimum. We really would like you to get out to at least a week. When there's a disaster, it takes a long time to get back to normal. You'll hear in disasters, a lot of people say, nobody came, nobody helped. It's very difficult. It's not that people don't want to help you. It's a natural disaster. Everybody needs help. The better prepared you are and your family, the better you're going to be. That's just the reality of it. So if you have a week's worth of food, water, and medicine, you're going to be in much better shape than if you have nothing. Contact lenses, diapers, kitty litter, cat food, whoever is in your house, that's who we're preparing for at least a week, because supplies will run out. And the key with that is, again, things that you don't need electricity for, to be okay on your own to cook and things like that. And last but not least, please have at least a plan to leave the area. I understand some people may not be able to leave the area, and that's where you have a conversation. Who would help you leave? You really should have places to leave if you need to. And I say at least a couple places because it depends on the storm. If it was Helene, folks in the mountains could come to our house. If it's a certain storm, maybe Raleigh is okay, and other storms, Raleigh's worse than we are. So I grew up in Maryland, so plan A was Maryland, and plan B was South Carolina. Now my family moved closer to me, so plan A is gone. So I have to have a different plan. You want to go opposite of the storm. Does that make sense? You can't just say, I'm going to Raleigh. Raleigh's my spot. I'm good to go. Raleigh could be worse depending on what happens with the storm. So please have a way to go. And I didn't make this up. I got this from Sissy and others in our emergency management community. I'm a meteorologist. That's my lane. But I hear this a lot. A shelter is a last resort. A lot of people think, I'm just going to go to the shelter. That is a safe spot, but it might not be as comfortable as a hotel. Or what about all those family members that come visit you? We're close to the ocean, right? They come visit you, go visit them. Both those locations are much more comfortable than a shelter. Shelter's safe, but you're going to be with a lot of people, and you're going to be a lot more comfortable if you're somewhere else like a hotel or family member. And again, the Weather Service, we don't tell you what to do, but we give you all of the information, and then you make that decision for your family. All right, we're going to end on impacts, and then I'm going to turn it over probably about another 10 minutes or so, then you won't hear me talking anymore. Raise your hand if you have made a decision based on this number, or, and don't be shy, or you've heard a significant other or friend say, I'm not going to do something unless it's a 3. So get those hands up. I know, get them up. I don't care about this still. Get them up. There's more. So does anybody remember Chantal a couple weeks ago? It didn't really impact us, but you saw the flooding in Raleigh. That was just a tropical depression when it went through Raleigh. Does anybody remember what the number of Florence was when it actually made landfall? I'm not talking in the ocean. I'm talking about us. 1. This category scale is only a wind scale. Mr. Eric is not saying don't pay any attention to it. When Florence was a 4, I was worried. But it does not tell us all the other attributes of the storm. How much rain are we going to have? Are we already wet like we are now? Is it going to sit over us for 4 days? Where does it hit? How big is the storm? Category is important, but please do not make your decision just based on that. Too many people stay or go based on that number. If we get a tropical storm, Lauren, we'll call it, and it produces 20 inches of rain, that's going to be a problem, and it doesn't even have a number. Does that sink in? And we have a lot of experience in this room, so we get a lot of new people. Tell them to focus on this instead of just that number. Water, 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 water is what kills people. Helene had a lot of wind that went really far inland. Big storm, fast moving, and it's still more people died because of water, even with really bad winds. They had hurricane force winds up through, upstate South Carolina. 85% of people die in hurricanes due to water, whether that's flooding, river flooding, flash flooding, rip currents. It's water, water, water that we're most concerned with. When they do evacuations, that's what it's based on. Water is what we're most concerned with. And that's what we're going to end with. Our biggest concerns, and then other aspects of the storm that you should be paying attention to. So we'll start with flash flooding. That is by far our biggest risk where we stand today. Flooding, rainfall. So it's the picture near us today, or near where we are today back in 2018. Key point, a hurricane category is not an indication of how much rain you're going to have. Florence was a 1. We had 20 to 30 inches of rain. So flooding, a big concern. Only takes 2 feet of water to sweep a car away. So never ever cross a flooded road. Water is extremely powerful. Because of our location, not only do we get flash flooding, but we get tremendous river flooding, especially Pollocksville and certain areas in the county, and that can last for many days and weeks up to rooftops. So those that have lived in the area, you've lived through this. Matthew and Florence, our river flooding can be quite bad in our community. And a lot of these deaths that we have occur in vehicles. So if you decide to stay where you are. If you decide to evacuate, stay away. Nothing's going to be in a hurry after a storm hits. It's going to take a while to get back. So please never ever drive through flooded roads. I love our county. It's really dark at night. It's hard to tell what's going on. Stay put when there's a storm. Don't drive, especially at night. I put storm surge in here. We do get storm surge in Jones County, and it's not the surge that you see at the beach with this huge rise of water. What happens is the water backs up the Neuse River and the Trenton River, and it can come right up into Pollocksville. And if nothing else, it doesn't allow the water to flow like it usually does. That's the only science part we'll explain. It just backs everything up. So water that usually flows down to the Neuse and out to the Pamlico Sound doesn't, because the surge pushes it backwards. And because of that, we can get some pretty high water levels across our county, especially near the rivers. This is a graph. I'm going to zoom in because it's a little hard to see. So this is a graph showing a Category 3 worst case scenario of surge in some parts of our county. A Category 3, the last time that happened was 1996. Fran is going to happen again. 96, for some of us wasn't that long ago. Those red areas on the map are greater than 9 feet, and this is why we bring this pole. When we talk about flooding, 2, 3, 6 feet, you don't realize how deep that water is. So we issue storm surge warnings for blue. That's up to 3 feet. That's my 6 feet, the yellow area. In Florence, we were over 9 easily. That's the top of this orange pole. So let that sink in. I tried to bring the 15-foot marker, but I couldn't fit it in because of the ceiling. We had water, that high in some parts of our area during Florence from river flood. So the water can get especially deep in parts of our area. Never drive through it. If you live in a flood-prone area, that goes back to step one. You really need to think about your vulnerability. You may not want to be here during something like that. So please keep that in mind. This is an example of flowing water, very powerful. Anytime you see the news, if there's a weather story, I can guarantee you're going to see somebody crossing a body of water. What you don't realize is that the road may not exist. So you don't know how deep it is. And if you look really carefully, this white pipe, your water line, your utilities are cut off. So you might be in a safe spot, but your utilities, Lauren's going to talk about this, might not be the same after a storm. Or for all the people in the back that help us first responders, they might not be able to get to you. And again, this is not a scare tactic. I get paid the same today as I do if I get this. I say this because I care about you. I don't benefit from scaring you. That's the picture in our area. So I just want to reinforce what it's like around here, because it can certainly be bad. So our big campaign with that is turn around, don't drown. Never, ever, ever, not ever cross through a flooded road. It's very similar to smoke detectors. If people just don't cross flooded roads, we'd be in really good shape with flooding. Most flood deaths happen in vehicles. As we get toward the end, wind is important. Fran, like I said, was the last Category 3 storm. We had gusts over 100 miles per hour. Can certainly cause tree damage, but the biggest issue with that, infrastructure issues, cell towers, communication, power being out for a while. So it's an inconvenience not to have power for a couple hours. It could be life-threatening, again, if you have medical necessity, or we're talking weeks and it's 90 degrees out. So that's the biggest concern with wind. Could you have a fallen tree on your house or car? Yes, but the bigger concern is long-term power outages and you staying safe in terms of being able to cook and things like that. This is an example from last year, Tropical Storm Debbie. Does anybody kind of remember that? Wasn't a huge deal for most of us. It was a good practice. Big deal if you lived up just northwest of Snow Hill, just up the road from us. They had an EF2 tornado. It was actually one of the stronger tornadoes that we've had in our part of the country in August ever. So if we do get a tropical storm, hurricane, even a depression, what I want you to do, if you decide to stay, leave this on, make sure it's not on, do not disturb at night, and try to have a second way of getting warnings. We have something called a NOAA weather radio, very inexpensive to buy. You can program that. It will wake you up in the middle of the night. I promise. It scares me, even a meteorologist of 20 plus years, when that thing goes off and I'm sleeping, I don't even know where I am. I don't know what's going on. It's so loud. So please get multiple ways to get a warning. And your first one is that cell phone. If you're not evacuating because of Tropical Storm Debbie, you're not leaving Jones County. That's all right. Just make sure you have a way to get a warning. So if this happens, you can seek shelter lowest level away from windows. As we wrap up, Miss Christie, or actually Lauren, you're up next. You can start to make your way up, or whoever's next. Don't let your guard down after the storm. We have lost people due to infection, going through water in Eastern North Carolina, electrocutions, carbon monoxide poisoning. If you have a generator, know how to use it. So a lot of people focus on the storm, and that's important, but please don't let your guard down. If you're not usually up on a ladder cleaning up your yard, let a neighbor do it. Let somebody younger do it. Don't put yourself at risk once the storm is gone, because this can last a long time. Before I turn it over to Lauren, what can you do now? Sometimes people see this and, oh my goodness, I didn't think it was that bad. Eric's telling me all this stuff. We live in an awesome area. Eastern North Carolina is fantastic. It's our responsibility to be prepared. If you have your kit, you have your plan, then you go on with life. If we get a storm, you're ready. But please share this with other people. We don't have any control over if we're going to have a storm or not, but you do have control over getting water. You do have control over just taking that first step, just a first step. At least get bottled water this weekend. Hey, I sat through this talk. I'm going to at least take that first step, and you will be way better off than you were last week when you hadn't prepared. And then again, don't forget about making your decisions based on not just the category, and pay attention to all those impacts. Ms. Lauren, we'll get you hooked up. I'll be happy to take any questions, but we're going to kind of transition and move along. That is my email. If you can't tell, we're really into weather and preparedness. If you think this would be good somewhere else, church, any venue, Saturday, Sunday, a Tuesday night, let us know and we will make it happen. Should just be able to do this. Okay. Are there any questions for me while we get her hooked up?
Okay, I have to pay for it.
Yes.
Okay, you said we don't have a radio, we don't have a cell phone. We don't have a generator. What is the next step?
So you do not have a weather radio, you do not have a cell phone. Do you have local broadcast TV?
Yes, but it's hard, so I don't know.
That's right. So definitely want to pay attention to local broadcasts before the storm, and then a cheap AM/FM radio or some type of radio is very inexpensive way to stay informed. I would.
Well, I've got a neighbor that tells me, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I would encourage them to get, and you bring up a great point. She said, what if you don't have this or that? Check on our neighbors, especially if they're elderly. It's a community that we live in, to check on your neighbors. That's a great point. So encourage them to try to get one of those resources. I'd start with the radio. You don't have to have a cell phone. I'd start with the radio because that's pretty, that's the most inexpensive thing, and that's very reliable. Great question.
Is there somewhere around here without having to go to another city to get one of those?
New Bern would probably be the closest one. Any of the bigger box stores will definitely have one. You could do that, and if you ever order stuff on Amazon, they certainly deliver. You could do that as well. Yeah, you're welcome. That's a great question. All right, so Lauren, you're all set. I'm trying to leave this here because it's recording. Yeah. Oh, you don't? Okay, you're good.
Thank you. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you inviting me today, and Sissy, you and Aaron as well. Looking forward to talking to this group about how Duke Energy responds to storm events. And we've tried to keep this information really general, since a lot of you aren't Duke Energy customers, but may have another electricity service provider. This information is applicable to everyone in this room. So my name is Lauren Vargo. I am with the Government and Community Relations Group, and I cover the Green Territory, which includes Jones County. So there are many things that cause outages in addition to storm events. It can be snow events like we had earlier this year, hurricane events, but a lot of times the damage that occurs to the electric system during a storm event is caused by vegetation. One of the things that Duke Energy has been bringing online recently is self-healing technology. And as you can see, this technology has really been helpful in reducing outage times and also reducing the scope of outages when we do have issues. And most of the time, this applies to smaller events caused by trees, more localized outages. We're able to automatically reroute power to our service area. So before a storm, Duke Energy is actively monitoring the weather. We're using data from Eric's group and kind of taking that into our system and estimating where we are going to have the most impacts. And with that information, we move forward with staging crews, working with our local partners to make sure that the resources necessary are in the appropriate areas. Working with Jones County has been really important to our company, and we've recently signed a new staging agreement with the county to localize resources right here in Jones County. So another thing that we're looking at is the relationships with the local elected officials and counties, just offering assistance where we can, nonprofits, the filling stations, and making connections to let the community know that we're available to assist if necessary. The biggest thing I'll leave you with today is power line safety. Assume any lines that are down on the ground are energized, and make sure that your children know the same thing, because you might not always have eyes on them, but it is so important to make sure that your pets and kids stay away from lines that may be on the ground. And a lot of times you might not be able to see them. There's floodwaters and that type of thing. So just additional awareness could save lives. So after the storm, our teams are driving through the area, assessing the damage. You may see crews in your neighborhood, and you may think, oh, well, they drove through, but my power's still not on. And what they're doing is taking those initial assessments to understand what the damage is, come back with the correct crews and equipment. So the areas that we're going to focus on first are 911 areas where there is a critical safety need, like a line across the street. But then we're going to move to critical facilities. And in Jones County, one of your important critical facilities is the county shelter. So after we have an idea of what the damage is and address those critical customer facilities, we're working from the transmission lines to the substations to your local neighborhood and then your home. So it's really important that you report your outages on our outage reporting tool. This will make sure that we have all the information to respond to in a timely way. And there's a lot of really great information on this outage tool. You can access it on your phone or the internet, and you can actually zoom into your location and see your address and an estimated restoration time for the event. This is not just a Duke Energy tool, but most service providers have this as well. And Duke Energy is doing a lot of work in Jones County to support the organizations that support you. We've recently, this year, given a grant of $25,000 to Jones County Emergency Management for a DEN system to improve communication of first responders, and the filling station grant for the ham radio. And here you'll see a small town business support grant that we gave to the Jones County Committee of 100, and a lot of these funds went to organizations that were impacted by Hurricane Florence and other smaller events between then and now. So I'm happy to take questions, and also happy that Nick Norris is here from our transmission team, so he can answer all of your really complicated electric questions. So Nick, do you want to come up? Thank you. These are your people. Go on. You have to see.
We don't have that much.
All right, any questions for Nick about power restoration processes? Any specific questions about electricity in Jones County, transmission, distribution, your house, what happens when your home floods, that type of thing? Yeah, in the back.
It's not really a question, but I want to thank Duke Energy for coming to Lakeville and doing the repairs that we needed in our the new poles, the new transformers in the last couple of weeks, and preparing. So maybe we won't lose power in Lakeville for 2 weeks like we did before.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of sub-ops work, and in Maysville, the self-healing technology is one of the things that we're bringing online, but new poles, new wire, higher capacity, and a lot of those things are storm hardening efforts as well. In some areas, we're moving poles closer together, and that makes the system more resilient for trees falling, high winds, that type of thing. So I believe we also did the town of Pollocksville in the last year or two as well. So we're making it around to those communities, and there is sometimes some growing pains that come with that, some vegetation management, and we work closely with the communities to make sure that work is done, especially the work that's being done on private property, is done with the smallest amount of impact as possible. Any other questions about electricity? Someone has to stump Nick while he's here.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Can you explain what the secondary is?
This new station area that we're getting out. So obviously we would bring contract crews in or outside company crews in. We will stage them in local areas, and we'll basically build a base camp is what we'll do. So we're working with Jones County now to build one here. We've had several in Craven County over the years. You may have drove by the mall during Florence. We had the whole backside of the mall taken up there. So basically about every county we have an office in, we have a staging center in. We're just transmission distribution, two separate partners in a way. I mean, we're one team, obviously PGO, but when our groups get together, we separate them out by the group so we can be strategically placed throughout the system.
Yeah.
I got a question concerning, the area I live in, you got Duke on one side and Bronx on the other.
Yeah.
If y'all didn't come in that area and you see a problem with John Lonzo, y'all fix the problem, call, how do you do it?
So the question is, how does Duke Energy and Jones Onslow work together in the community?
So we obviously communicate together. We have account reps that work for Duke on our transmission side, especially that we work with Jones Onslow and all the other utilities and towns throughout. So yes, we communicate, and obviously our crews have contacts with Jones Onslow internal as well. So we communicate together throughout these processes because we have joint use poles as well. So sometimes you'll see both of us on the same pole. So we definitely have to communicate there.
And we are very thankful for the Jones County community working in partnership with Duke Energy and Jones Onslow. It makes a big difference in providing the best service to the community as well. The staging site is really going to stage the resources that are going to be needed here in Jones County. So we're really excited about that strategic relationship. So, yeah.
What should people do to prepare their homes in an electrical capacity? So shutting off main breakers, unplugging appliances. What does the electric company recommend for us to do?
So the question is, how can we prepare our homes for storms from an electrical perspective?
So on your side of the meter, we can't tell you what to do on that side. But as a homeowner, if your house is in a flooded area, you would want to turn your main breaker off, obviously, if you're leaving that facility. And obviously, if you have a generator, make sure it's cut off as well before you leave the facility as well. But on your side of that meter, we can't tell you what to do to prepare for it.
And Sissy, that might be a good transition for you as well, to maybe talk about a couple topics related to generator safety.
Sure, since they can't tell you, I will. I don't mind. I got you. So one major thing that we want to hone in on is obviously we want all of our linemen to go home at the end of the day, correct? And with that being said, we have to prepare for that ourselves. So turning that main breaker off and ensuring, one, if your generator's running, you want your main breaker off. Everybody knows that, right? Leave it off. Even if the light's going down the street, leave it off for a little while. That ensures that they have enough time to where that power from your generator is not back feeding into those lines to where those linemen may be working. What's another hour or two going to cost you on that generator? It just ensures that they're safely done with the power lines as well, and you're not back feeding it, and they're not going to be back feeding you. So at that point, just make sure you unplug the appliances you do not want to be in use. Generators can only take so much of a load depending on what generator you have. So ensure that you know what it is capable of. And once again, leave it on a couple hours after and leave your generator running a couple hours and leave that main breaker off to give them enough time to clear the area. So when you disconnect, you're not backfeeding. Good enough for my people that can't tell them what to do on the other end? Okay. Thank you, Brady. All right, now we're going to have Ms. Christie come up here for CCDRA. Talk to that one.
This is, yeah, if you just stand right here, I got you.
Awesome. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Christy Colbert. I am the Executive Director of, we say CCDRA because it's that really long name up there. Coastal Carolina Disaster Resiliency Agency. Previously, we were known as Craven County Disaster Recovery. We're no longer just Craven County. We have been working in Jones County for about 2 years now, still helping some people from Hurricane Florence. And we do still do a lot of work in Craven County. And we are getting ready to expand as well into Carteret. We are what's called a long-term recovery group. We formed right after Hurricane Matthew in 2016. The average long-term recovery group, or LTRG, has about a 2 to 4 year lifespan. Jones County also had an LTRG here after Hurricane Florence. and they are no longer banded. And so what CCDRA has done is we said, you know what, we're done closing and opening after every storm. We got people trained, we know how to do this. Why are we letting them go to other jobs and then not able to get back? And so we changed our model a little bit. So we are now serving Jones County. We actually have a grant that is for specifically Jones County that I can officially announce now because it was kind of in between things, but we do have a grant that can help with some home repairs in Jones County from Hurricane Florence. So a lot of great things happening there. We are currently centralized in Craven County. We're in James City in the Newburgh area on the other side of the bridge. But in the event of a storm, we would end up expanding into a substation so that y'all can have your own representation. I'm from small town Indiana. We have about 337 people in our county or in our city. And so I'm very well aware of what that means to have metro people telling our rural communities what to do. So we're not playing that as CCDRA. It's not going to happen. Obviously, the funding isn't there to do that full time. So we're going to help from afar. But once, if and when a storm hits, we would open a substation here so your community can be represented locally. We know that's important. So this is just a little bit about us. We do disaster case management. We do home repairs for hurricane survivors or wildfires or whatever disaster that may mean. We do preparedness and resiliency. We do referral services. We have about 70 partners that we work with. And that number goes up and down based on, who's in the area and who's not. One of the biggest things we do, we provide emotional and spiritual support. We know it's not just about rebuilding the home. We're not rebuilding the people and making them resilient, then what do we really do? It's really important to us. And we do a lot of advocacy. Full disclosure, Yankee accent, I'm sorry y'all. I am from Northern Indiana. We don't get hurricanes up there. I entered North Carolina in 2017. In 2018, I had 6 feet of water. Thank you all for the warm up. And so I learned the hard way what a hurricane can do. I was not prepared. I was drastically uninsured. Everybody said put things in the dishwasher. It'll be safe in there. No, that thing backlogged. Everything we put in there was destroyed. And so I have made it my own personal vendetta to make sure that nobody is impacted the way that we were. We ended up being forced to sell our home. They were requiring us to elevate. We didn't have the money to elevate. Forced to sell our home, lived in our camper for 2.5 years, and finally had the courage to buy the home. So that's why it means so much to me. I will live, eat, and breathe this thing until I die because it hurts when you're on the other side of that. So we have been working with Jones County reps and are working to make this thing official, but we're not really good about going away. We work where people help. I'm sorry. Just what we do. It's my other screen here. Presentation mode, so it's a little bit bigger.
Did you want to do a clip in? Do this?
Sure. Yeah, great.
That's you. Think you could stand up there and present it?
No, I can't stand behind that thing behind it all day. All right, so this is where we're centrally located. That's our main office. It will always be our main office. We actually have offices. We have our own warehouse. We kind of have a warehouse at the mini Lowe's. We buy things in bulk because we get bigger discounts, and that's how our money lasts so long. We also have our own volunteer housing. We can house up to 60 people still to this day, every night, 365 days a year. And that's how we're still working. If it were not for that building, we wouldn't have anywhere to sleep a single volunteer. And we still have over 500 volunteers that come every year to serve our counties now. So it's not as much as the after storm, but we make it work. These are some of the things you need to know. Take a picture of this, go to these websites. You need to know what type of hazards are around here. It's not always just hurricanes, y'all. We have wildfires, We have flooding that's not even hurricane related. Tornadoes, we have all kinds of crazy things. We have fire incidents. You want to know your flood zone. Flood zones change all of the time. This isn't a once every 20 years thing. So please make sure that you know what zones you are in for both flooding and evacuation. Make sure that you have all the alert systems so that you can be alert and know when those warnings and watches are coming. Remember, a watch is, it could happen. A warning is, y'all, it's most likely happen. So pay attention. And then there's other important information. FEMA, Red Cross, Ready and See, they all have really great information. That frizz.nc.gov page, you can actually go to that page, you can type in your address, and it will show you what flood zone. If you're in the blue, it's really bad. If you're in the yellow, it's pretty bad. If you're not colored, then it is a little bit better. But again, none of us are safe in Eastern North Carolina, so be wary of that. Disaster kits, I'm not going to talk about this very much because Eric already covered it pretty well, but we recommend 7 days. I can tell you that there are a lot of communities in our area that weren't able to get out, especially if you were in a rural community or you have in the woods. My neighborhood is down one street, and unless you have a boat that didn't sink, you're not getting out until the Croatan Forest is cleared out. And so it is really important to make sure you've got enough supplies for you and everybody in your home, including your pets. If y'all don't feed your pets, we're going to fight. It's really important to me. And when you're planning for these emergency kits, I need you to really think about this, because I hear so many people in Eastern North Carolina saying, well, I'm not leaving because it's too hard to get back. Please tell me what in your home is so important that you want the memories of being on your roof with your animals, your kids, and whatever else, listening to all that wind and rain. And that's if something worse doesn't happen. Okay? I hear so many stories of people who were stuck in their roofs, stuck in their attics. We have 80-year-old women who were trumping through water to find safety because they couldn't get to their roof. So I really need you to think about what in your home is worth all of this. Make sure right now that you're writing down important phone numbers, assigning family members tasks such as who packs the important documents. If you do evacuate, or even if you don't, you need to have this stuff handy. Make sure you have a copy of a current utility bill, electric or water especially, your insurance documents, your deed, driver's license, medical insurance, anything like that. We do recommend you turn off your utilities and unplug appliances. We have seen electrical fires start after the storm because people didn't shut off those breakers, and the electric, especially the older electric, got wet, and it started fires in the walls. As we open those walls up, as we're replacing drywall, we're finding there were fires back there, and they're lucky it didn't go through the whole house. So please do be mindful of that. Make sure you know who's taking the pets, grabbing all the medical records. Recommendation for what's to put in there. Some of the highlights that I really like to make sure people have is solar chargers for cell phones. We're in a digital world. Everybody has a cell phone. Make sure you've got chargers for those. They actually make solar ones now, and those are my favorite because even if the power's out for 4 days, you can put that baby out in the sun and it's going to keep your phone charged. So you can have connection there. Medications. Do not forget medications. Some people do not know. If you are on a prescription medication, you can actually go to the pharmacy and get emergency supplies. Sometimes it's just a week, sometimes it's 15 days. But if your prescription is running anywhere near low, your insurance will authorize an emergency supply prescription to keep you through a week or two. Family and emergency contact information. I will tell you, I couldn't remember my own phone number, let alone somebody else's. It gets very easy to get caught up in this thing. So make sure that you're writing them down, keeping everything in a notebook, your account numbers, all of that stuff, and take it with you when you go. Assigning tasks, talked about this a little bit. Who's going to get those documents gathered and found who's going to get the animals, who's going to be in charge of shutting off all of the things. I can tell you, my husband was working when we were getting ready to evacuate. And so I was trying to do all of this myself. And I forgot so many things. And because we had 6 feet of water in our house, we lost it all because of that mistake. And so please, it's really important to do these things now and have these are some of those documents that we recommend. One of the things I will tell you is that I have lists of all of this stuff in a packet. I forgot to grab the box when I left my office. So I've talked to Marianne at the filling station. She's going to allow me to take that box to the filling station. I will have that there no later than Friday this week. So come next week if you want to drop by the filling station and get a preparedness packet. It has a list of documents to have and all of that stuff in there. The reason we recommend these documents is after a storm, when you need to file for your insurance or file for FEMA, or even file for CCDRA or Baptist on Mission or Samaritan's Purse or any of those people you may need help from, these are the documents that they're going to ask for. And if you don't have them, it's going to slow your recovery. And we don't want that to happen, because when you're this far out, it's because of those people who didn't have things ready. Your electric company, sometimes they also are out of power in their offices and can't print off those bills and things that you're going to need. So please make sure you have them. And that is one of the top reasons for denial for assistance, including for FEMA. FEMA is not an insurance policy. They have a max grant that they can give you for home repairs, which is usually around $35,000 to $40,000, and a max grant for other items like personal property, transportation, storage, things like that. And so even to get that assistance, you have to have these documents or you will be denied. And that is the number one reason people get denied from FEMA. Remember that it only takes 1 inch of water to do even $25,000 worth of damage. One of the most common misconceptions about insurance is that flood insurance is only for hurricanes or flood or rain or whatever you want to call it. If a water main breaks outside your house and your home floods from it because it's outside your house, your homeowner's insurance will not cover it. So flood insurance will protect even against things like that. And I don't know if y'all know this, but we're pretty swampy around here, so it's really easy for water to sit above the ground. It doesn't soak in very well. And so flooding is not uncommon in these parts. Insurance plans, there's insurance that covers your structure, your contents. Homeowners insurance and flood insurance are 2 different things. We flooded with 6 feet of water and had roof damage from a tree. Okay, like Florence just took my house out. We quickly found out that our flood insurance did not have contents coverage on it. Our homeowners insurance had contents coverage on it, but the primary damage was from the flood. And so they would not replace a single thing in our home. We lost everything and didn't have a dime to fix it or replace with. And so please make sure that on your insurance plans, both homeowners and flood, that you are fully covered for personal property and structure. That's one of the things we see that gets a lot of people, myself included. Always file a claim if you have damage. One of the biggest things that we hear from people who are insured is they say, well, I didn't file a claim because I didn't have the $10,000 deductible. You don't pay that $10,000 out of pocket. It comes off the top of your claim check. And so please make sure you file a claim. If you have insurance and do not file your claim, most assistance organizations cannot help you because you have a resource there that could help you or deny you, and we can still work with that. But if you did not file a claim, a lot of our grants will not allow us to assist you because you didn't follow the proper sequence. Right now, take pictures and video of your home. Open the drawers, video it, everything. Clothes drawers, junk drawers, all of the drawers, jewelry drawers. Take pictures of the serial numbers of your electronics. If you have $90,000 worth of personal property coverage, your TVs and clothes and all that stuff, if you don't have documentation of that, They're going to give you the minimum amount that they possibly can give you. It's just the way the world works. They're not evil, it's just the way the world works. They can't just trust you when you say, I swear, I have $90,000 worth of stuff in my house. Take pictures now so they can see what you had before it was damaged, and take pictures after it's been damaged, so you can show them what you have. One of the things, I'm also working in Western North Carolina. I'm president in CBOAG, which helps coordinate disaster in all 100 counties. And those houses are just gone. And the people who had pictures of their homes with timestamps right before the storm have been able to get personal property coverage. Those people who didn't are still fighting to get a dime. So it's really important. Again, remember, FEMA's not meant to be an insurance policy. If it was, and they had to pay $300,000 for every one of our homes, or 150, or whatever you want to call it, yours and my taxes would be 97%. They are meant to help, not be the only answer. We have to provide assistance. Make sure that you're asking questions about your policy. Like I said, if you've got insurance, you call that insurance agent tomorrow and you say, do I have personal property coverage? Do I have coverage on my home, my fence, my shed, my pool, whatever it is you may have, your barn? Make sure that you're fully covered on everything. If at this point you find out you are not covered and we get hit by a storm and that's how you find out, I will say I told you so, okay? I need you to make that call and double check. And make sure that you have an idea of what you'll need financially if you make a claim. I say that because your insurance isn't always going to cover everything. So flood insurance has, at the time of Florence, it was $150,000 maximum. It was $180,000 by every contractor's estimate to fix my home at the lowest. And so I would have needed at least $30,000 to fix my home because my insurance company was not going to cover it all. So make sure that you're having an idea and saving up. Preparedness is key. Your recovery is only as good as your preparedness. It's true. If you don't have these documents, if you don't have these pictures, if you don't have these plans, we can't help you recover very quickly. There's already going to be a wait list. We're working on 1 million people's house at a time. But if you're not ready, it's going to put you further down that list just because we can't hold off for you and make the other people wait. So please make sure that you're ready. Keep the trees and shrubs trimmed back away from your windows and the roof. One of the biggest reasons that we see for claims, claim denials, is trees were grown up into the house. They were constantly rubbing on the shingles, even in non-storm days, we call them blue sky days. And so when they were damaged by the hurricane and insurance comes out and does their assessments and adjustments, they go, oh no, that's been worn on for 10 years. We're not covering that. Make sure you keep loose debris secured to prevent the wind from making it a projectile. That's especially important for your neighbors. It may not hit your house, but it's going to hit theirs really good. So make sure you're keeping stuff secured. And clean your drainage ditches and gutters. One thing that we saw with Hurricane Florence was because she sat over us enjoying our communities for 2.5 days or whatever it was dropping rain, we had people flood with 2 feet of water from a drainage ditch. They were nowhere near a creek, nowhere near a river. Their drainage ditches turned into rivers and creeks and flooded their home with 2 feet of water. And most of those were because they weren't cleaned out in the first place. The dirt had went up and covered the hole in it and everything. So make sure you're cleaning those out. And that's it. Any questions? None? Y'all are easy. Who was here in Florence? Okay. Okay.
I got it all right. I was told, they did not come on my house, because it was too old.
Shop around. Please do. We hear that a lot. There are actual insurance brokers that they're not tied to just State Farm, just Farm Bureau, or whoever the other ones are. They oftentimes work with 90 different insurance companies, and so call one of those. Just go on Google and search insurance broker, home insurance, Jones County, North
I
Carolina.
know I can, the renters insurance, I know how important that is. But the renters, I'm not so much worried about the inside, but not having nowhere for the inside.
Yeah, shop around, call an insurance broker, one who works with multiple insurance companies. There is coverage. I assure you. Yes.
I could get insurance on my home. I'm 42 years old, but they say it's because of the chimney. Chimney tech remove all chimneys.
Shop around. Yeah, we have 200-year-old houses that are covered by insurance with chimneys. Kind of common back in those days. HVAC in the, late 1800s. Yeah, just check around. When you're having problems finding insurance, don't go through an actual one insurance company. Find a broker who deals with multiple, because they're going to be able to find somebody for you. Yes. Yes, sir.
And most people don't know that if you don't already have the insurance, you're already sitting out yonder in so many days, you ain't getting no insurance.
Yeah, and that's why you need to check today. Once a storm gets named, especially when it's projected to come to your area, they shut down any change on your insurance company or on your insurance. Even if you're covered right now, let's say your car insurance doesn't have flood insurance on it because you went with the PLPD or whatever it is. Once that storm is named, is projected at coming in Eastern North Carolina, you can no longer call them and say, oh, you know what? I forgot to add flood insurance to my car. They're going to say, too late, there's a named storm. So you need to call right now and get that modified. And also with flood insurance has and some homeowners insurance, there's a 30-day grace period. So if you start it today, it will not take effect until 30 days from now. And so if you wait until 2 weeks from now, because you're like, oh, we still got some time before September 13th or whatever, October 10th or one of those storms we want to recognize, you're not going to be covered. You're going to go into that grace period. So there is a 30-day window and you need to deal with it today, not 2 weeks from now. That's right. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Up on your, board said about the ditches, whatever, need to be cleaned out, or who's responsible for getting the ditches cleaned out? Is that like in the neighborhood or whatever, is it, Halloween, or?
Can't hear, Kristen.
I don't know how it works here in Jones County, but I will tell you that there is nobody more responsible for my home or more trusted with my home more than I am myself. And so I would make a call, maybe to the county, maybe Sissy can talk about this to see who's responsible here. But I can tell you that I'm not waiting on nobody to make sure my home is ready, because I will never see that again. So maybe Sissy can talk about it, but from my perspective, if I were you, I'd make sure it's clean.
Because we don't have like ditches in our yard, but throughout the neighborhood, there's ditches, whatever, that's just overgrown. We're responsible for cleaning them out.
You got it.
So ditches are controversial. Any of my other folks in here that talk about it know that. I would make a phone call, not necessarily to the county. I would make it to your local DOT here in Trenton. They are logging those. If it's directly in a right of way, it's a main drainage ditch. I have seen success where they've cleaned some of those out. But I would tell you that if it's considered a private ditch, I would clean it out yourself. One of the main drainage ditches that they currently did right on 58 South in front of Dollar General and the housing complex, they cleaned it out. The problem is it's not draining. There is a private drainage ditch that runs back into the forest that is completely clogged up. So the state done their portion. Now we're trying to get a hold of the actual landowner and clean their portion out. So if you have the ability to clean it out, whether it's just cleaning by the drainage tile itself, getting that grass out where it can drain out the way it needs to, I would highly suggest doing that, but make the call to the local DOT. And if that doesn't work, then call the county manager's office, because he will start making phone calls himself. Does that answer your question? Enough. I know it's a political answer, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anything else? Thank you.
Perfect. So mine's gonna be nice and quick and simple. So she talked about getting alerts from the county. What I have on the projector screen is Jones County actually pays for HyperReach. You can sign up, and there's multiple ways you scroll down. So if you want to take a picture of this and actually share it, you can. There's a QR code you can scan. There's a website. There's a phone number you can call. There's a phone number you can text. Multiple ways to get these. So these actually partner with the National Weather Service. Anytime they send out severe thunderstorm warnings, there's a hurricane warning, a tropical storm warning, it will come to your phone for that reason through this app. In addition to that, my office, the Jones County Emergency Services Office, has the ability to send out alerts and notifications to you through that as well. So say the sheriff's office has a missing person in a generalized area. We can then do a radius in that generalized area and give just those people with cell phone service, whether they're signed up for it or not, that information. So it's very critical. Make sure you're sharing that with anybody around you, community, your neighbors, so we can get that out there. The next portion is I'm actually going to open it up to you. So Jones County Emergency Services is myself, Aaron, and the 16 paramedic employees. But what you don't know is that we have volunteer fire and volunteer EMS in our county as well. And so it's all about partnerships. DSS, Health Department, Sheriff's Office, we partner with each and every one of those to provide to you, the citizens, the protection and safety, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a blue sky day, and somebody needs help, essentially. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up to any questions at all for Jones County Emergency Services, not just the hurricane forum, but me on a public platform. None? I mean, there's a lot going on, guys. You can ask plenty of questions.
What's your take on the EMS and policy?
Sure. So if you're not aware, Jones County, its legislators, USDA, and many other partners have invested in Jones County to expand on not only our emergency medical services, but our emergency operations center in Jones County, which is, oh, sorry. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, you guys are.
So we've had plenty of partners and everything work with us and invest in Jones County Emergency Services as a whole. That being said, our Collinsville EMS station is located on 58 on the old, what I call Business 17. And then we had one recently, what, a month and a half, 2 months ago now? Am I correct in that? 2 months ago, it opened up on Highway 41 West. That is station 1, this is station 2. So that one, I am hoping, fingers crossed, by the end of this month, we're going through the punch list, and then beginning of September, having it open. Our Emergency Operations Center, which is directly connected to the Sheriff's Office via Breezeway, which is our administration building, is underway as well. Hopefully it's done about the same time frame. We're going from a capacity in our Emergency Operations Center of about 14 people, if we're lucky, to almost seating 50. So all of those partners that we talk about all the time, we can actually bring them in, sit them at the table, and have that conversation of, okay, Lauren, I got power out at Collinsville. What's the restoration time? What do they need? Or we have 150 people in the shelter, Chris, what do you need? So those kind of conversations. So thank you, Mr. Wayne. Great conversation. Great question. Anybody else? Sure.
Okay, I have a lady come up to me today. And she wanted me to find out how she would get her name on a list if they need somebody for people to go to and say. How would she get her name?
In what capacity to go within the same?
People running and laying down to get every day on her phone.
Adrian, will that be you?
We still have it.
You can say the partnerships. I don't have any. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I'm hoping to do one of these at least once a year. Stay dialed into social media if you have it. If not, feel free to call our office. If we don't answer, we will call you back, I promise. get a hold of ncweather.gov or weather.gov and pay attention. Hopefully Aaron keeps right on moving. That's my hope, right? Thank you. Have a good night.